Morning YouTube. Right, question for you. When did you last change your gearbox oil? I think the honest answer from most of us, definitely the answer from me, would be probably never. And I think there's a couple of good reasons for that. I think the first reason is that the stuff that lives in here leads a very different life than the stuff that lives in here. You're probably going to change engine oil a couple of times a year. And that's because it's constantly getting contaminated with the byproducts of combustion. It's constantly next to very hot, spinny, turny things. And it's got to make its way through some very narrow little channels in the engine to make sure that all the metal stays away from each other. The stuff that lives in here operates in a much more narrow sort of temperature band. And there are, theoretically, far fewer contaminants making their way into that oil. And the second reason is it's just such a royal pain in the arse to do. And the first reason for that is that if you're working without a ramp, you've got to have the car level. And if you're just working in a parking space like me, you find a parking space that's perfectly level. You're either, if you're by the side of the road, you're going to be on a camber, or if you're in a parking space like I am here, you're probably going to be sort of on an angle because they angle them down to allow water to run off. And that's the case that I've got here. So you've got to get the car on an angle, then you've got to get under here, you've got to loosen your drain plug, you've got to loosen your fill plug. Plus, also, depending on the brand of oil you use, they all come in a bottle like this with this integrated straw that I guess is there to put into a fill plug and fill up. In practice, it's really not quite that easy. As you can see laying under the car there, if you tried, it just wouldn't work, trust me. So here's what I've treated myself to make this job just a little bit easier. All it is, effectively, is the same as a brake and clutch bleeder. Let me show you, actually. So there's my brake and clutch bleeder. There's my gearbox filler. They are effectively the same thing because they do the same thing. You pressurize them and they push a fluid through a tube. So let's just get that out of the way. So this comes with a little bag of adapters that you can use to fill up various gearboxes. Now, I think primarily this is intended for automatic transmissions, but automatic manual, it's fluid. So I'm just going to use it to fill up my gearbox. It doesn't help that manufacturers kind of specify really long intervals on gearbox oil changes. I mean, you take Margot here, 2010 Mini Cooper R56. The gearbox oil specified for this is a lifetime oil. I think, however, that word lifetime is a little bit misleading. And consensus of opinion seems to be that, you know, a big manufacturer like BMW considers the lifetime of a vehicle to be about 100,000 miles. So therefore you can interpret that lifetime as 100,000 miles. Well, Margot's knocking on the door. So in my mind, she's ready for a gearbox oil change. Also, the gearbox is a little bit clunky. And what I'm hoping is that I can make that a little bit slicker just with a gearbox oil change rather than a clutch change. Because one of those jobs is easier than the other. So I'm going to shut up now, get the ramps out and get the spanners going and get on with this job. Now, having said all that, the job on this Mini isn't too bad. Both plugs are easy to get to. Let me show you. So with the car safely supported and working underneath, here is your drain plug and your fill plug. If you just feel above it, right up there, that's your fill plug. These are both an 8mm hex. I'm going to follow some conventional best practice and make sure that I can get my fill plug loose before I get my drain plug out. Obviously, you don't want to drain all the oil out your gearbox and then find out you can't get the fill plug out. These are only done up to something like 43 Newton meters or something like that. So they shouldn't take an enormous amount of force to get out. They should come out quite easily just with a hex bit in sort of like a 3/8 ratchet, which is the way that I'm going to take them out. Now, given the location of the fill plug here, it would be nigh on impossible to take one of those little squeezy bottles and squeeze it all in from underneath. There is an option to fill these from above, so I'm going to just take you up top and show you how to get to this fill plug from above, because I have seen one video online where somebody gravity filled it, and that's a pretty good option if you haven't invested in that bit of kit that I've bought. So in my engine bay, I've got this K&N filter here, which removes most of the induction system, which is great because it gives you a lot more room to work. Now, looking down from above, you can just about get to your fill plug there. So what you could do is, I mean, it'd be quite easy for me, I think, to just get to that fill plug from above and slip a hose in it, put a funnel in the hose and then gravity fill it. I think if you still had your airbox on here, that would be a different deal. Oh boy, right. Okay, so drain plug's loose, fill plug's loose. Shit! Oh, gotta love a windy day. Well, the good news is the old fluid came out clean as a whistle. There wasn't any nastiness on it. The drain plug was lovely and clean, like you see there. So these go back in without a crush washer or anything. But it's important to torque them up, I understand. Right, just put this in a place of safety. Doing this video, right, so that's gonna go. I think I can probably use that one. Okay, so I'm going to use that adapter. Yep, that goes into the hole. Right, so let's think about this here and let's get set up. What I'm going to want. Right, that in there. So this is going to work like this. I'm going to put that up there. Pump my fluid in there. It's going to drop down and I'll get ready with the drip tray. Now what I'm hoping is that when we are full, it's going to be as simple as shut the valve off. And if everything has gone according to plan, we shouldn't be too far away from full. Right, here we are, job done. Lovely new MTF fluid in there, which is good for another lifetime. Has it made a difference? Has it? Gearbox feels lovely. Do you know, it really is nice when you do one of these jobs and you can feel the difference. Just so often you do a servicing job and all you've got to show for it is a servicing job, you know, and some old spares you're throwing away, and you don't really feel any difference. But this really has made a difference. And if nothing else, it's convinced me that, you know, these fluids that they put in gearboxes, these lubricants that they put in gearboxes, do have a life, regardless of whether or not they're labelled lifetime. The fluid that I took out of Margot this morning, even though most of it ended up all over me, was really, I don't know, it was, the only way I can put it is it was weak. It was not very viscous. Now when you compare that with the new fluid that I put in, the new fluid went in like treacle and the old fluid came out like water. In fact, if the old fluid had been a bit more viscous, I might not have got so covered in it. But definitely a job worth doing. Now, obviously, you're not going to do this job if your car has only got sort of like 30,000 miles on it or something like that. However, if you're looking after a car that's getting a little bit up in the years, long in the tooth and big in the miles, like Margot here, I would say that this is definitely some very good preventative maintenance. Thanks for watching this one, YouTube. These aren't meant to be instructional videos. If anything, they're just like a video diary for me, and I hope you might enjoy watching it. And I hope you might have got a laugh watching me trying to get all the old gearbox fluid into a drain pan. The next job I'm going to do is an oil filter housing gasket. Sounds simple enough, doesn't it? About £10 worth of gasket, fit in the palm of your hand, front of the car off to change it. So there's one to look forward to. Anyway, I hope you have a great day, and I hope if you've got an older car like this, you're out there enjoying it every day like I'm enjoying Margot here, and making the most of it, and just generally loving it like these cars deserve to be loved.